Welcome to East to West WLS, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty. I'm April, and I'm the West.
And I'm Jason, and I'm the East.
I really can't believe that I'm saying these words, but they're actually true. Today, we welcome the one and only Teri Turner, the founder of No Crumbs Left. Hi, Teri.
April, thank you. I love you and I love your enthusiasm, and I feel lucky to have, people that follow along so passionately. So when you said yes, I was like, absolutely, I'm there.
As Jason knows, you are my favorite person on the internet. And I don't say this to be like over the top, but you really did save my life in a lot of different ways. After bariatric surgery, I absolutely broke up with food. I didn't want anything to do with it ever again. I had never had a positive interaction with food in my life. And a friend introduced me to your Instagram feed, and I started following you. They recommended that I purchase your cookbook, which I have right here, which basically stays with me at all times of the day. And I started cooking my way through your cookbook. And it was at that moment that I realized that food didn't have to be scary, that truly, as your tagline says, everyday food can be marvelous, and it can be flavorful and nutritious, and I can get what I need out of 5 bites, and then I'm good to go. It was an experience I had never ever encountered before in my life. And because of you and your cookbook, I now enjoy food. I feed myself nutritiously. I make the food myself. My friends and family actually enjoy what I make. Before it was like, oh, what do we order in? Now they ask, is garlic confit going to be there? Are you making the meatloaf? What Teri recipe are you making for us? They know that it's safe.
I love it. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you.
It's just been miraculous. So we're very excited to talk to you today. We know that you are the captain of No Crumbs Left. You oversee the blog. You have, again, this most amazing cookbook, your pottery, which I am absolutely obsessed with. My entire kitchen is everything's no crumbs left. You're a very busy human being. But we love to give our guests the floor at the beginning, just to kind of introduce themselves, just to tell us who you are, how you became the woman you are today. And then if you wanted to share a little bit about No Crumbs Left with us.
Sure. Thank you. So I'm an empty nester. I've always been a person who's loved to cook, and truthfully, I love to eat. And so my life's mission, I always say that cooking in many ways has been my mistress. It's taken me through births and deaths, marriage and divorce, all kinds of things. And I love to cook. I love to think about what I'm going to eat next. So that's just been my passion, is meeting people who love to cook. And I mean, that can be like, meeting a farmer, meeting a baker, meeting a purveyor, but sort of people who are passionate about food are also typically really passionate about life. And so really, I've been your friend who has good recipes, who you call on, your friend who has good dinner parties. And that's really who I've been. I've done other things. I've been an event producer, but I was going through a divorce and, was just kind of at home with my kids at that point because they were in high school. And as they started to leave the nest, it was like, I just know that this isn't enough for me and that I need more. And I don't even know what more looks like, And I had been so dedicated to being a mother and so proud of being a mother and love my kids so much. So when they were going to go off on their own, you don't want to be that mother that's like hanging on as they go. I was just really looking for my next chapter, and I was buying a washing machine with my friend Kate Schifrin and said, Kate, I don't know what, I want something more with my life, and I don't know what that looks like. And I just feel like it was sort of like, I can almost kind of tear up when I think about it. It was just that sort of paradigm shift moment where where creation begins, and from being people who transformed your bodies, you understand that what really means, what transformation really is. So there was that moment of transformation, and it was the beginnings of something. And then it was just like everything lined up in my path. And I never said, I'm going to be a blogger. Now, if you had told me you're going to have this successful pottery business, you're going to be a blogger, you're going to be an author, you're going to have the, Wall Street Journal best-selling cookbook, you're going to have a podcast, I would have thought, well, that sounds like fun, but how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. I mean, I had 44 followers, and I was like, gosh, I wonder what it'd be like to have like 200 or, have a goal. I'm a goal-oriented person. And so people showed up one after another, and I just authentically shared what I like, which is I love cooking and I like real food moments. You know, I mean, I would rather have beautiful soup with a homemade broth with vegetables and avocado, you know, than I would a candy bar. I mean, I really like real food. I like cooking real food. I like the way, you know, cooking with real food makes my body feel.
Mhm.
So it just began a journey that took me so many places. In many ways, I was the right person at the right place at the right time. And I had a lot of, you know, I had a privilege for sure. And I had a lot of good luck and I had a lot of wonderful things happen to me. And I had people who championed me and helped me and, you know, believed in me. But I didn't ever even think about being a blogger. And I don't think of myself as a writer. So I didn't understand how like that would even happen. And we had the recipes, we had Instagram. Instagram was growing.
Mhm.
And Lucy, my kid, said, I'm going to set up a Facebook for you because I really wasn't on any other social media, you know, for No Crumbs Left. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that, but they did it. They set it up, you know, pushed it live. And then Lucy invited friends who invited friends who invited friends who invited friends. And I mean, quickly we had 10,000 people following along. Now we have, you know, over 500,000. And it used to be that I would put the recipe up for my heroin chicken because you're a hero every time you make it. And then, you know, I'd say go 17 recipes back, you know, for the heroin chicken. Well, that's only sustainable for so long because now you've got a good amount of people following on Instagram. You got it on Facebook. You're doing, you know, direct messages with recipes. So it was like, okay, now at this point it's me, but I say to Zach, who's my friend, why don't you come on with me? You know, I'll guarantee a certain amount and let's just see if we can make this thing happen. So Zach did. And we just, you know, started from the beginning. And then it was like, what are we going to do with these recipes? So it was like, let's put them on a blog. We're not going to tell anybody. We're just going to have them. And then we can have a link. And if someone asks, we can give them the link, but we will not have a blog. You know, I mean, so that
Oh
of
my
course
God.
didn't last. I know.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's
That's insane.
crazy. It's crazy. So everything that happened didn't happen because we had a grand plan. It was really that we were shoved into something and then it was like, it looks like we have no other choice. I mean, the podcast happened because I wanted to have a conversation with Lucy, who's queer. And we wanted to, people were like, what's Lucy's coming out story? Because it's like, there's Lucy and Lucy's girlfriend, and there's never like, and my daughter is a lesbian. You know, there wasn't ever that thing where I was like having to announce about that. So, so people were like, what, you know, what's the deal around all that? We'd love to hear more about it. So we did a podcast and Cards Against Humanities, Joe Feldman said, come on over, you can do one here. And I didn't really even know what a podcast was. And so we really just had a conversation about her experiences and mine and, you know, each our side of the journey, you know, which is really supporting each other to be our best, you know, have our best lives. And so it really went viral. A lot of families with LGBTQ plus QIA members used it. Someone's aunt would hear it, or someone's, you know, it's a lot of different people. So it did amazingly well. And then it was like, oh, I could have more conversations with more people and more topics. So we talk about food, we talk about life, birth, death, you know, you name it.
Yeah.
I just had Jacques Pepin, who's the wonderful, you know, world famous chef. I had Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
The Korean
We've had a lot of
vegan.
conversations.
Oh my
The
God.
Korean vegan. We've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people on a lot of topics. And I think we're now season 3. So we're over 100 episodes in. So, you know, that's, you know, how we gave birth to that. So each step, it's just been doing the next right thing, you know, going above our skis always. You know, we brought Molly on, and Molly's been so great about getting us organized, about getting us really running, about really understanding how a blog works. I mean, what you can do and what you can't. And she's, you know, phenomenal. So we've had this unbelievable journey. You know, we've had wonderful brands that we partner with. You know, in the middle of all this, we created a business with pottery because I have my marinated onions, and you and I love Spindrift and our pineapple Spindrift. And I had my marinated onions, and I needed a bowl for it. I wanted a bowl with a handle, and I wanted a bowl with the spout. And, you know, there were things, but nothing was, I love that. Nothing was quite right. So we developed this and private labeled it. And, you know, now we have a whole, you know, we got a whole crew of potters, and it's really been, it's the most fun thing, the pottery for me. I mean, I just have the most fun because I'm a person who's collected kitchen jewelry, as I like to call it, my entire life. So being in charge of, like, not being in charge of, being on a team with people where we're choosing a color or all of that. It's been really fun, having a great time.
It's
Well,
just
and
incredible.
it's one of those things that people don't realize what that next chapter of being a parent in your life will do. Because all of your life you've been tasked with, keeping these humans alive and getting them to basketball and football and volleyball and all these things. And there's always been activities to do, and there's always something. It's school related, it's sport related, it's something related with the kids, and that's been your existence and everything about you for 18 years. And then if you have multiple, it's until they're all 18. But then what nobody, prepares you for is, once all that stops, you're just standing there going, oh, you don't need me for anything else today? Oh, okay, cool, thanks. I'll holler at you later. And then you're just kind of standing there like, well, shit, what do I do with all my time? And then, you have to learn how to re-evolve yourself into something that, is something completely different. And, I was kind of at that same point when April and I met. So I completely understand where you're coming from about looking for the next step, the next jumping point. And it seems with everything that you've been able to create, you took all that, what would normally be nervous energy and turned it into something amazing for so many people.
It's been great. And, I remember my kids like saying, because in being a mom, I was 100% all in, cooking for the class, doing the field trips, and I remember like Patrick saying, what will you do when we're gone? I mean, I think, and even worried about me. And I said, here's the thing, you don't have to worry about me. I am going to be okay. And so, and I am, and I think it's like shocking because my kids called me like, I can't talk, or it's like, now it's on the weekend. I'm like, it's my time with Roy, with my partner. So Lucy says to my son, Patrick's like, I can never reach mom on the weekend. And Lucy's like, mom pretty much doesn't speak to us on the weekends. Just so you know, she's got her own thing she's doing, and she's kind of not by her phone and everything. So we get a giggle out of it, because they knew me as being so dedicated, and but I'm dedicated in a larger way to other things. And I think that's as it should be, I want them to go off and do their lives for sure.
Well, and we've really learned even along our bariatric journey is that you really have this like first half of life, and then you have the second half of life. And the second half can be just as fulfilling and meaningful, if not more so than the first half. It doesn't mean that things are over. It just means that things are going to shift and change. But as one obligation or as one connection leaves our lives, it opens up this space for these new things. And we just have so much more energy and love that we can give out to the universe if we treat these as different sections of our lives. It's a really powerful way to kind of do things. And we can always do something. It never ends.
And that never ends. And I know often people get divorced and then they just think that chapter is done for them. And it's like, why do you believe all your chapters are written? Like, why would I think even even in my 40s, I got divorced. And I mean, the truth was I met the love of my life. I mean, and I love the man who I share children with. I'm so grateful for him. And he's my dear friend and he's my co-parent. But the reality is the love of my life I met after I was left, and I was devastated and heartbroken. But I just, decided my chapters were not all written. And you don't have to be the most the most beautiful, bra model, size 2, whatever to find love, No. And so, I feel really lucky, but I also feel lucky that I know that there are more chapters for me, and that I'm a survivor, and whatever it is, I'm going to meet the day, and I'm going to, go to the next thing.
Yes. Well, and I really feel that philosophy comes through in what you do with No Crumbs Left. I mean, not only are you a fierce advocate for the underrepresented voices and humans in our world, and you have really shone a spotlight on, I think, how we can advocate for those who are not in our position of privilege on your platform. I know when George Floyd was murdered, you took a very immediate public stance on that. And for me to see you doing that and promoting and having those conversations let me know that it was okay that Jason and I have those conversations, and that we're having these conversations with other people, and that it's time to reach into these other communities and share the platform, give the platform, because that's how we all get ahead. It was just a really eye-opening experience, and it's been fascinating and exciting to watch you grow into kind of this fierce, influential person that you have become. Because not only are you helping people recreate their relationships with food, but you're really just demonstrating, here's how we live a just life. Here's how we live in our communities. Here's how we support everybody. Because not only are you doing it with with any of the minority communities, but you're doing it at the local farmers level. You're doing it at the small business level, right? Every everything that you do, it just seems to be very much done with intention, as to not leave anybody out, as to include everybody, and to make sure that everybody's voice is heard and valued at the same level as everybody else's. And that's not easy to do. That's difficult.
Well, I think when you have a platform, to me, you have a responsibility, and that is always, for me, my guiding light is always my parents. They're both gone. My mom, 21 years this year, my dad gone shorter, but it's always like they were pretty amazing people. They made a difference. They were fortunate people, so it was easier for them to make a difference, but it was important to them. And it's really, they showed us by action, not by word. And so I always feel like that I won the lottery with my parents, just cosmically, that I really did. And so everything I do in many ways is to honor their memory. And I always just want to make them proud. I mean, I really want to make them proud. I want to do a good job with what I was given. And I think if you've been given a lot, you have, and I didn't make up this quote, someone else did, but with all of that becomes the responsibility, of giving back. So in the beginning, you have the platform, you're like, oh, should I talk about this? Oh gosh, are people going to unfollow? And then there's a point you're like, it is okay. I'm not for everybody. And if I'm not for somebody, and I have plenty of people who follow me who have different politics, but it's like, I am not going to shy away. I am not going to become a different version of myself to make somebody feel good. I am not going to water myself down. It's not who I am. And that's been a real, that's been an evolution for me to get there and to be like, okay, yeah, I am going to say this and I feel good about it. And I also it's okay to not. And it's okay. Mostly I don't block people. If people come and they whatever, but occasionally there'll be someone that's like, you're only here to make trouble. And I am going to do that. It's just like, I'm going to make that, goodbye. And that's unavailable to you, or I am going to silence you because guess what? It's my page and I can do what I want and, get on your page and do whatever you want. And guess what? I'm not going to be coming over and complaining about what you do. I'm just not going to do that.
Dude, that happened recently.
One of my favorite quotes is I'd rather fail as myself than succeed as somebody else, trying to be somebody that I'm not. And that encapsulates that 100%.
Who said that? I love that.
I don't remember who exactly it was, but it's one that's always stuck out to me.
Well, and I think it's a little bit challenging for us in the bariatric community. I think we share your passion and we share your mission. And I steal it all the time from you, Teri. You always tell people I'm a strong cup of coffee. And I'm like, oh, that is so perfect. Right. And for us to be fierce in our beliefs and to help the community that we want to help, we really do have to be that strong cup of coffee. And we have to be very grounded in our values and our mission and our vision. And we need to really stay the course because there's things that are coming at you all the time. And there's people that are going to come at you all the time to draw you off that course and to make you feel bad about who you are as a person and what you've done. And it takes a lot of effort. It takes thick skin. It takes a lot of coffee. And it takes a lot of honest conversations about, well, no, I'm sorry, you can't follow me anymore because our vision, our mission is not aligned. Right. So, okay, sorry that you feel that way, but you did that to somebody. It was a couple of months ago. I forget the name, but it became this instant hit on your page about somebody had complained and you very appropriately and professionally dealt with it. But
what was it, Franny?
Yes, Franny! Franny Gate!
Franny Gate. I mean, we had Franny and Franny just would come into my DMs and, tell me you love me and, all of that. And I was like, Franny, I'm pretty sure Jesus does not want you showing up in my DMs. Didn't hate at me. I am pretty sure that Jesus would not want you doing that. So yeah, and Franny still can go out of her way. She doesn't follow to show up, or she'll be like, you blocked me from the stories. It was like, yeah, Franny, yeah, I did. You want to watch the stories, Franny? I'll let you watch the stories. I mean, yeah, it's been, we've had some fun with Franny. And occasionally Franny will she'll just show up on the post. So yeah, we got to have a little giggle about her. I've never blocked her, by the way.
Oh, that is, wow. You are a strong woman. You are a strong woman.
I'm not afraid of Franny, and I am not, and I am pretty sure Jesus loves me, so I'm not worried about it.
No. Well, the one question that I do want to ask before we really deep dive into this conversation is why No Crumbs Left? How did you come to that name?
Well, when you want to have a blog, and it's like, oh, should we do food and feast? Should we do blah, blah, blah? And it's like everything is taken. And my Lucy was like, what about No Crumbs Left? Because we're looking for names for blogs. So most good ideas aren't mine. that was Lucy's, and she, and they were amazing. And it's been a great name. And in the beginning, it was Lucy and I doing some things together because Lucy was still at home at that point. And
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well,
So
it's
it
very,
became two of us.
it's very appropriate. Every time I make one of your recipes, there is absolutely no crumb. There's no crumb, drip, drop, anything. There is nothing left at the end of that meal. So
Well, here's one thing to know about my recipes, and I know what you guys are if it's 5 spoonfuls a meal, is share. I mean,
oh,
yesterday I made my leftover from Easter, the ham soup with, with
yeah.
broth and
Mhm.
potatoes. And here's the thing, I'm on day 92 of Whole30. So guess what? Some of this lovely food that I've made, I'm not eating right now, but it was like, I'm still going to make my mom's ham salad. I'm
Mhm.
still going to make, because those traditions mean something to me. And I cook for a
Yeah.
friend of my mother's who's in her 80s. And so I drop food off for her every week. So I was like, I'm going to make that ham soup and I'm going to make the ham salad. And I love, if you make too much, this is my point. If you don't want to cook, don't cook. But if you're going to cook and you have more than you need, or it's going to be a temptation, share it with friends. I mean, you will gain many new friends if you share your food.
Literally, people will come to my house and request that I cook. That never happens. That has never happened before. So I'm living the dream right now. And Jason knows that Jason is an excellent cook. And oh man, it's been an experience, to say the least. Well, our conversation.
What does Jason like to cook?
Oh,
I like to cook all things, really, honestly. I'm smoking meats is very therapeutic for me, so I do a lot of that just because the process of it is so therapeutic. That's kind of my escape. Most of the stuff on the grill, I can do a lot of kitchen oven work as well. So I kind of a wide range of things.
Nice.
grill master extraordinaire, which makes it a nice combo, because especially in the bariatric world, again, you're after your procedure, you're really scared of food, or before surgery, you're scared of food. You're fed up with food, and you go into this thinking, I'm never going to have to worry about food again. And then very quickly you realize, oh my God, I have to think about food all the time now, even more so perhaps than I did before surgery. But you reach this point where, at least for me, you get so angry with food and you just want to break up with it. And many of us, including myself, I broke up with it. I lived off protein shakes and ready-made food for a month because I was just so done with it. I was so angry. And you have to get to the place again where you do have to reframe, you have to recreate a relationship with food, because that's how you're going to live a long, healthy life. And it's very scary. It's very intimidating, and it's a lot of work. And after you have already done the mental gymnastics of going through bariatric surgery, it's devastating to know, okay, I have to do more work now. Like, I didn't sign up for this. It's really difficult. So we're excited to talk to you today about how we can kind of reframe our relationship with food. We're excited to know how you've kind of come to your food philosophy, and just what tips and tricks and suggestions you would offer people who are kind of in our position, that are new to food or looking to reframe food and just re-engage with it in a way that's safe and healthy. Because we know that you are on a journey of health this year. That is your theme for your year.
And I mean, we're all on a quest. I don't know which one of us knows the answers, but we're all on a quest. And I turned 60 this year, and I'm really this is the youngest I'm ever going to be. And the truth is, this moment is the youngest that any of us are going to be. And I just want to feel my very best. And I felt like last year, COVID, a few too many macaroni and cheeses, not feeling great. And I was like, you know what? I really want to feel good, and I'm not feeling my best, and I feel it in my body. So I'm going to take a year, and instead of going, I have to do this in 1 month or I'm a freaking failure, really is just to take the year and work on my health. And so it's really been fun. So it's like, I'm incorporating, I'm walking every day with my Fitbit. I'm sleeping with my Oura Ring, which, helps me with my sleep. I've got my water that I do every day. I've got my Peloton that I'm riding. And one of the things I'm really doing is I'm working on smaller portions. So my Fred bowl in the pottery line, it's perfect because it's like the 5-spoon bowl.
Yes.
And I tend to want to eat more. I say that then that's a crumble, but that's good too. I say that I like to eat about 20% more at every meal than I need to. Oh, I love it. You got your patty bowl. So I eat about 20% more than I need to. So this year for me is about how to not do that, and how to have this entire year and not actually have one moment that I'm overeating. Now, it may mean on the journey that I'm going to eat pasta, and it may mean that I'm going to do this. I'm not there yet. I started with, I'm going to do Whole30 because I really like eating the, I already gluten-free, but I like eating dairy-free and grain-free in terms of feeling good. And I'm not thinking there's anything wrong with grains. Somebody else might love grains, and I'm not anti-grains. I'm just about each one of us figuring out our own journey to health. And that is about listening to ourselves and saying, how do I feel and what feels good? And what's that about? And, what supports my best life? So Whole30 was a great way for me to kick off because, the truth is, once I get started on sugar, it's a bit of an issue for me. So to say, you know what, I'm just not going to have any sugar right now. I'm not saying for the rest of my life, but I'm saying during this, 90-day, 100-day period, I'm just not going to have any sugar, because I don't think it supports my best life, So it's been really fun to cook Whole30 because, there's beautiful soups and wonderful salads and nice vegetables and nice protein and my magic elixirs. So I like this idea of celebration food, real food. I'm not a person cooking with like low fat milk. Now, if you want to cook with low fat milk, have at it. I'm not doing fat-free yogurt. That is not my food philosophy. Mine is cook with real food, and eat delicious things and make celebration food. But don't let food be an emotional crutch, or figure out what you're going to do when because it's that thing in the evening. Oh, I want a snack, which really doesn't have a lot to do with hunger, or it's about hunger for other things, So I've been doing something right now in my year of health where I'm 3 days a week doing that thing where you stop eating at 6 and you don't till 9. I don't know that that's technically intermittent fasting, and I'm doing it because I know actually for me, I'm going to sleep better if I finish eating early. And because the truth is, when you're not 21, losing weight is a challenge for me, even if I'm doing all the right things. So I know that I'm going to be better off to actually accomplish a weight loss goal if, 3 nights a week. So when I come into Chicago, I work in Chicago Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So when I'm in Chicago and I spend the 3 nights there, and I'm, Roy is in Michigan during this time, I'm stopping eating at 6 because I can come up to my little room up here. I can do my thing. I can get my Peloton. I can take a ride on my bike, but it's like, I'm not eating anymore. And this is my thing. I don't go down to my kitchen because if I go down to my kitchen, that is where we run into a problem. And so then what happens is on the weekend, Roy likes to eat dinner at 7 o'clock. Now that's not the way I like to eat, but the reality is in having a partner, it's about having a partnership, but it isn't just only about what I want. So I worked it out with my health coach that it's like these nights, definitely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursday, I intermittent fast, and then on Friday and Saturday, I eat at the time that works for Roy. And then on Sunday, we eat earlier. So I feel like, it's like, because I've had these sort of, where it's like, I'm doing the extremes where it's like, I'm either overeating or I'm, having a piece of celery. And so for me, it's like, how do we get in balance? And I think we're all wanting this question all the time, whether it's food, whether it's life, whatever it is. How do we create balance, and how do we create wellness?
And I think you have perfectly illustrated, or I guess you've really kind of said the magic phrase, and that's it's going to look different for everybody, right? And we really do need to take this Goldilocks approach. We need to hear how you're doing it and how I'm doing it, how Jason's doing it. We need to look at people in our community who we admire and who we want to emulate and see what are they doing, and try pieces of their recipe so that we can really create this perfect version for our own lives. That's the only way it's going to work. But if we're not curious, it's never going to work.
Yeah, nobody's got the blueprint. It's going to be pieces that everybody's thing to come together to make one big jigsaw puzzle. There's no one right or wrong way to do it.
No. Well, and Jason, this really reminds me, we've had 2 now very candid conversations with Dr. Ariel Ortiz. He's kind of the father of bariatric surgery. He has a huge bariatric center in Mexico, but his supports after surgery really focus on metabolic wellness. And what he says is intermittent fasting and whole real foods. That's the key to this longevity, right? Key to a healthy life. And really, that's exactly what you're practicing in a way that works best for you. You're just tweaking it in a way that fits your partner and your life and how you are living during the pandemic and just how you're living in general.
Totally. And just so you know, Roy eats pasta most days.
Yeah.
What works for him is different. I'm gluten-free not because I don't like gluten. I really do like gluten. It just doesn't like me. So I've been gluten-free for a number of years, just because when I'm eating gluten, what happens is my inside feels like it's scraped.
Oh,
And when
yeah.
I'm not eating gluten, and I don't have celiacs, but when I'm not eating gluten, my digestion is great. So for me, it's also just like around digestion, what feels good. And I think each person just really figures that out. And that's what I'm on the journey to also. I mean, years ago, I wasn't gluten-free. And then one time, some round of Whole30, I realized, you know what, beans, they don't work for me. I get a lot of gas. I don't feel good when I eat them. So I stopped eating beans and hummus, not because I think they're remotely bad for people. I think they're probably really good, but I know for my body, it doesn't work well. So it's just, my journey is that same journey that I hope we're all going to, is for healing and health, and how do we live our best lives and find the most joy, and, and help some people in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've shared some recipes from your book. I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but Teri, you and I share a similar philosophy. A cookbook is like a textbook. I mean, it is supposed to be written on in. You are supposed to use this thing constantly. And I'm always sending Jason pictures of like these recipes, and I'm like, see, this is so perfect for bariatric patients, because your recipes they're whole food. They're made with like real ingredients. They are lighter a little bit on the dairy and on the gluten. I mean, your cookbook is Whole30 endorsed, which is not easy to do.
It's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. So 80% of the recipes are gluten-free and dairy-free. And then I have, I include things like my carrot cake and my egg rolls and my family recipes. Things like that.
Yes.
My feeling is, if you can eat dairy-free and gluten-free and it's still like delicious, why wouldn't you want to,
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
So I'm always trying to take old school recipes and make them, have them be Whole30 and all of that. But, but then I can make a couple of great pastas too,
Oh yeah.
We just
Which
had
we
we've got a shrimp pesto pasta, and we've got another one coming up this week in Friday Favorites, where we're doing lunches, and I love to just do an issue on lunches. And here's the thing that I like. I always like this idea as food as celebration. So my thing is like, how do we get back to that? And I even know for myself, and being reactive around, it's like, how do I do that, but have it be, in a way that isn't out of control and that feels really good. So for me, it's about fresh ingredients. I mean, I'm loving my Asian inspired chicken salad. I freaking love it. I love making it. I make it every weekend practically. I bring it all in baggies. It's ready to go. I toss it. I go. Last weekend I didn't make it because I was concerned that Roy was going to get tired up and say, don't bring it anymore. So I did a steak salad. I think it's important, like on the weekend, I think it's nice to gather with people if you can, and to have a lovely meal. And that doesn't mean to be overeating. It can be 5 bites of something. But if we're going to have 5 bites, why shouldn't it be delicious? And yesterday I was making this Asian chicken salad, and because I'm eating less, I would naturally go for the second portion. But I was like, I want the second portion, but I'm going to make a decision that I'm not having the second portion. So I took my portion, because everybody here eats a lot. I put it in the refrigerator in a bowl. I put a baggie over it. And then at 5 o'clock, I whipped it out, because I like to have my dinner at 5 o'clock. I swear to God, I'm like, a senior. I brought it out, and I just was happy as heck to have that. And then that was it. The kitchen's closed. I'm not eating anything more. So, in some ways we're on different journeys, but it's that same journey to health and wholeness, and how to figure out, my mother was a woman who really struggled with her weight. And because of that, she hated to cook. She really had a love-hate relationship with food. And my love of cooking was born out of watching my mom struggle and saying, my mom taught me a lot of wonderful things, but this struggle is not what I want to have. Not only with my weight, I don't want to, even though it's been a struggle for me, but even with cooking, if I'm going to do it, I don't want to cook from a place of like, I'm just making my protein shake and this is it. I want to infuse my food with love and have it be joyful. So if there's too much, you're sharing it with a friend, or freezing some. But I really want that food to like nourish me and to feel really good and to light up my soul for sure.
Well, we actually, in December, our whole month at East to West was dedicated to celebrations. And it really was, how can we enjoy celebratory food in a way that is safe for us, right? It's not that it's off the table or that it's something that we can't enjoy, because, like Jason has recipes that are connected to his family. I have recipes, you have recipes. So it's not like you don't want to break that connection with your family. You want to be able to enjoy that. but you have to be able to enjoy it in a way that's safe and right for you, no matter where you are in your journey. And it sounds like you really kind of have come up with a formula to kind of celebrate every day with what you eat in a way that's safe and wholesome for you, and aligned to your goals.
Yeah, and believe me, I can, my history is that I can eat too much. So this year I'm
Yeah.
just about how can I drill down on not doing it? How can I have an intention with myself and
Yeah.
say, my intention with myself is I'm not going to overeat. I don't, the food is still going to be there. I don't need to worry that, like, there's never chocolate cake again. So how can I make an agreement with myself? And that's what my goal has been. Because I said to the health coach, Liz Josephsberg, who I love, and I love her program, and she's amazing. I said, it's not like I'm not a secret chocolate eater, that's not what my thing is, but I do eat too much at every meal. And my whole thing is going to be about how to, because if I'm doing Whole30, I'm like, oh, great. Well, then I can have the bacon with the this, with the that. And then saying,
Yeah.
oh, well, what if I made a choice not to have bacon? What if I made a choice to say, you know what, right now, I'm not going to have pork because I don't know that is living my best life. And I'm not saying other people shouldn't have pork. I'm just talking about what my journey is, and then going, I'm going to do Whole30 differently. I'm really going to do Whole30, but I'm going to do portion control because that is my issue. So
Yeah.
I said to Liz, now it's like we're 100 days into this. And I said, yeah, that's really what I want to work on. And that's a lot for me. If I'm doing steps, doing my Peloton, drinking water, committing to getting to sleep earlier, tracking my sleep, and doing smaller portions, frankly, I don't know that I can do any more than that. So it's not even like, let's add something new in. It's like, let me ride with this because I have to develop an entire new habit, and that's actually a lot to do that. And just like you guys are doing entire new habits, it's big.
I was telling Jason before you popped on that I had a really great session today with my bariatric therapist, Wendy. And I said, I'm just feeling really overwhelmed. And I just said, like, I make all these great trackers and I want to do all these things, but it's a lot on top of just like running your normal everyday life. It's something that I know Jason and I have struggled with. It's just, you get to this point where everything feels heavy. Everything feels heavy. And that's not a good place to operate from. So what have you done, Teri, to make it feel not so heavy? Or what do you do on those days when it does feel heavy?
It's hard. I mean, there's days where I could just tap it and say, I'm really sad today, and it's been a weird year. And, there's the just quarantining and sort of, Roy and I in a tiny house when we're used to having two houses, we go back and forth between. I've had some personal losses in my life that have been kicked my ass in a giant way. And there are days where I'm just like, I am so sad about this. So it's like, it's also like being okay with it and being like, it's okay to be sad. And it's just okay to say like, yeah, I'm really sad about it, and I try to get back to what do I know that works? I know that I need to get enough sleep. I know that I need to, stop eating at a certain point. I need to drink my water. I need to take a bath. I know that listening to a book on tape is something that really supports me. I know that there's a lot of TV that doesn't, so I don't really watch it. So I try to do the things. And it's like, then there's just also a point where it's like, yeah, no, and then people will, direct message me, how do I, it's something that you can Google where it's like, do you know how to do this? Where it's like, well, let me Google and give you the, just like saying, yeah, no, you're just like not doing, because I'm a do the next step kind of person.
Yeah.
So it's like learning what I can do. Part of it's like I'm going to take a vacation and that's going to be fine. And I'm not going to be on Instagram. Part of it's like, I had a week in the city in Michigan. It's just like prioritizing some time off and figuring out how to, on the weekend, spend some really quality time with with Roy, so I just think I do all that. And sometimes I just have to say out loud, I'm really sad today. And knowing that is what life is. I mean, because we have these moments and, it's joy and it's wonderful. And then we have these other, and it's part of what it is. It's part of what I think I didn't do the best job teaching my kids, because I sort of pranced around to make every moment perfect, is that life is just really hard and adulting is really hard, and that it's okay just to be sad sometimes.
Yeah, being able to vocalize that and be honest with yourself in those situations is extremely important, just in, like you said, in everyday regular life, and then especially, you know, post-op, all the emotions that we go through, and our immediate crutch that we go to, you know, our food, the amount of food that we used to eat, we can't do that anymore. So a lot of people struggle with how to cope with, you know, those feelings, and just being able to come out and say, you know, I'm not okay, and having somebody there to recognize that and let you know that, you know, it's okay to not be okay is super important, because that's, you know, we have a lot of very honest and hard conversations with ourselves pre and post-op. And I just think it's so important to never stop having those hard conversations, because yeah, sometimes they suck. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear. Sometimes it's not what you want to admit. But the fact of the matter is, it's got to be admitted if you're going to be able to move past it. You got to know what it is. You got to grab a hold of it to be able to move it to the side to keep going.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced a certain amount of burnout this year, just where it's like, I'm burnt out. I am crispy. It's like, I don't have one more freaking creative thing. And I think if you can surrender to it, I mean, in January, I normally do the Whole30 takeover, which means I've created all this content for them and we're over there, and it's like the Super Bowl. And I, you know, I've had my book. So for a number of years, I was on contract to do it twice a year. And now they're branching out and including a lot more people, which I'm delighted about for them. So I didn't go back in January, and I allowed it to really work on myself and create recipes for myself. And, you know, Molly's like, oh, we have to come up with a new recipe every week. And I was just like, I don't even know that I can do that right now. So she was so good because we really problem solved. What can I do? Well, it was like, what if right now I can't do a new recipe? I can take a recipe from the book and I can spin it. What if for a month I don't have a new recipe? So even just giving myself permission not to, it was like, then the next week I created one of my favorite recipes of all times, because I was like, I might be burnt out and I might not be able to do a new recipe. And you know, there's just that feeling of like, sometimes people come and they'll be like, well, you don't have any new stories or something. And like that expectation, it's like, yeah, I don't just do one thing. I mean, I'm not just here to do stories for you. It's like, sometimes there's new stories and sometimes I'm talking about this and sometimes I'm talking about that. I get something up, but not everything is a new recipe. So it's also, you know, realizing that it's like when you have kids and they ask for more and more and more, it is not their job to figure out that you can say no. It's not that there's anything wrong with that desire on them. You know, it's really about me having a boundary, you know, and I'm not the most boundaried person. I let, you know, everything kind of spill out into my life. But I think having this house in Michigan where I go every Thursday night, you know, and I prioritize Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. So I have 4 work days in Chicago, but I have 3, you know, days that I'm in Michigan, and I usually work from Friday in Michigan, and the whole team works remotely. And I think it's kind of good for our morale. We end a little earlier. If you've got to go to the doctor, the dentist or something, it's like, get your work done. And if on Friday you've got some stuff, it's cool, you know, because we're really hardworking people for sure. Yeah. So I'm just, you know, I'm just freaking doing my best. Yeah.
Well, there's so many similarities between what you described, and I know that Jason feels this deeply. He is a recent empty nester as well, and he's gone through some big changes as he was going through his bariatric journey. And we have 3 people on our East to West team, and I'm so thankful that we are comfortable with each other enough to go to the team and go, I am burnt out. I am on my last, like you said, I am crispy. I can't even, I don't have anything for East to West, and I don't even have anything for my own bariatric recovery. And there's been times where we're crying with each other. And it's a safe place to do so, because if we can acknowledge that, like what you guys both said, if I can acknowledge it, I can get it out. And then either my people are going to lift me up, they're just going to listen to me and give me a safe place to get it out, or they'll help me problem solve. But until we get to that point, we can't move forward. We're just going to be stuck there. We're going to feel crispy, and we have no way to get uncrispy. It's hard.
Well, and part of it with our journeys in not only our recovery, but in creators, you know, creating the things that we've done for ourselves and for the communities that we support, is we feel the weight of that. We feel, you know, when people come in and say, oh, well, we checked and didn't see anything new. You know, what do you guys got going on? I haven't really seen this level of activity. And as people who support other people, we're givers, and we feel bad about not giving everything. We, like, if we feel like we've got anything left, we want to give that to somebody else, because that's what we do as support. But what we have to do is we have to do it in a way, if our tanks are empty, the support that we offer other people is going to be meaningless because there's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
If we can't come from a full place of, of rejuvenation and kind of rebuilding that, that surplus, we're not going to have anything to get. So if you burn yourself out and get to that point where you are that crispy, you're just going to stop altogether, and then the whole train stops. And then it's like, well, then what? Then all those people that supported you and all those people that are working with you to support those people, that's a whole house of cards that comes down. So, like April said, having the ability to reach out and say those things and have those conversations with your support team is so important, because that's literally what keeps us all going. And we've got to do it in such a way that it's not only plentiful, but it's also meaningful.
Well, I have a partner who was always like, you're running toward the finish line, like this goes on forever. And he goes, he said, I'm 62 years old. This thing doesn't go on forever. So he turns me to, what do I want that's next? And, people are like, oh, you're going to do another book. You're going to do another book. Well, doing a book is huge. I do not have it in me to do it right now. And I just, I want to prioritize myself, and I want to prioritize my partnership and my family. So I'm like, I might do another book at some point. There was that whole thing like, oh my God, if I don't do it now and I just turned 60, it's like, it's all over or something, So then it's just like saying, maybe it is, and maybe I won't, but it's like, who's to say you can't do a book at 65? Who's to say that's not possible? Who's to determine that I can't? So, and I don't want to do it now because I'm in some trap that all these young bloggers are cranking out books. I put my whole heart and soul in my book. So it's not like 2 years later, I have a new heart and soul to put in, It isn't to say that I have some new recipes, because it's recipes and quotes and family stories and family recipes. And I loved doing it, and I loved the book tour, but I don't, it doesn't feel right for me now. And I, my publishers asked and my agent, but I'm just like, I want to prioritize myself. And, I'm having a lot of fun here with the team, with the group, and like what we're doing, and, some of the brands we're working with. We're having a good time for sure.
You can definitely tell there's a lot of joy in everything that you do. And I very much appreciate that when you are, as you said, feeling crispy, you kind of let your crumbles know that. I am a crumble. I'm a faithful crumble. There are millions of faithful crumbles around the world. And the fact that you are so open and transparent about what you're going through professionally and personally lets us know that it's okay that we also feel that way from time to time. And then you're kind of like our mom, you're role modeling how we can move through these different stages or seasons or whatever you want to call it of life. It's nice to see, and that's not easy to share publicly. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. The year of health, I originally didn't tell anyone about. It was just like, I'm doing Whole30 and that was it. And then I just was like, oh gosh, if I do it and I've got some weight to lose and I know that I can't do it in a month. And there are people who lose weight fast. I'm not that person. And I've done everything that I can imagine a person would do, in this year of health. But it's still slow. So, I was like, at first I was like, well, I'm not really going to tell anyone. Then what happened was I kind of started to eke it out, and people were really into it. They were really into like what's happening with the water and what's happening with the smaller portions. So then we were like, you know what, let's just bring it right out. Let's have it be a part of the thing. It resonates with people. Instead of looking for content, let's just let this be the content. So that's what we've been doing, and even when I'm making the sandwiches, I'm like, guess what? I'm not eating this today because that's not on my food plan, but I am creating content, and I'm creating this thing on lunch, and I still got people who are here are eating it, and I know how to make a delicious sandwich. So it's been a lot of fun it's just been a lot of fun, this whole thing. I've been really into it.
Well, and what's powerful for me is when I see you make this amazing food, and then you say, but this doesn't fit within my year of health. So I'm making this for Roy, or I'm making this for Zach, or I'm making this for people on the team, but I'm having this. It's like, oh my God, if Teri can do that, I can do the same thing too. I can eat, my tiny portion, or I can fix this healthier version, or I can make 2 versions, one for Grady, one for myself. But seeing you do it gives me and my brain the evidence that no, this can be done. I can't play mind games with myself anymore. I can't say, well, that's not possible. I couldn't do that. Bullshit. If Teri can do it, I can do it. And everybody else can do it too.
I just did it on my steak salad that I just posted. I showed how what I did was I made a wonderful blue cheese dressing for Roy. I did a wonderful, Whole30 dressing for me. and,
Mhm.
you know, we put it in a big platter and, you know, just made it beautiful. So, you
Yeah.
know, and I've said to Roy, I mean, Roy doesn't love when I do Whole30. He's like, oh, I like when we're eating the same thing. But I'm like, here's the thing, Roy, I'm working on my year of health because really, I love you. I love our life. And I want us to have as much time as we can together. So even though you don't like this, I need for you to support this journey that I'm on. And
Yes.
that's what this looks like. So even if it makes you like uncomfortable, you know, this is important to me and I want you to support me. I mean, one of the things I do is I eat too fast. So when we sit at our table, it's like, you know, I have my candle and I make a thing like I'm going to put my fork down because my inclination is to be a very fast eater. So I know that some of it, like, first of all, he likes that I take care of my health. I mean, here's the great thing about my guy. He's like, I love you exactly the way you are and you don't need to change at all. But it's like, it's important to me. I want to feel really good in my own body. And I mean, you know, during this process, I've lost some, certainly I've been losing weight this year and I feel good about it, but I know, you know, he's like, well, I wish we could have that sandwich together. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? I can have my Asian inspired chicken salad. You can have the sandwich. I love making the sandwich for you. It really gives me joy. We can have a lovely lunch and it's not better for you if I eat it. It's fine. And I make him also just sort of confront that, you know, because I know, you know, if he wants to have a glass of wine and I haven't really had wine for 100 days, not because I think there's a darn thing wrong with drinking, but if you're, you know, for me, there's two things. When I'm drinking, I get a little more slippery on my food, you know, and the second thing is right now, if my goal is to lose weight, I don't really want to spend the calories that way. I'd rather
Yeah.
have a freaking lovely dressing, to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? I'd rather
Yes.
have a nice, another, you know, square of steak. So, you know, and all of that. So, you know, it is what it is and we're figuring it out.
Well, and again, as bariatric patients, we have to have our loved ones support us in ways that make them uncomfortable. I mean, it's really hard for my husband, and I know for Sarah, and we've all experienced this as bariatric patients. You go to eat with somebody, and all of a sudden they're very concerned about you because you've only eaten 5 bites in 30 minutes and you're absolutely stuffed. So then the questions start coming. Is everything okay? Why are you not eating that? Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Right. And then there's just this like awkward moment because people relate their relationships with other people through food. And it takes a lot to break food out of that personal relationship and just focus on the actual relationship. It's a totally new landscape for a lot of people, and it makes people uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
I've noticed that a lot with you know, going out and doing things. And like I, you know, told so many other times when I was first going out, you know, after bariatric surgery, I made a joke of it because I would carry the smallest little container around. Well, I'm 6'4" and 400 pounds with these giant gorilla paws, and I've got this little container, and people are like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is my dinner," and they're like, "What the heck?" You know, and it's like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's ricotta bake. It's a little thing. It's what I can have. It's fine." Because it was like at that time it was the little quarter cup container, so it was just hilarious to see my giant hands and see the whole thing disappear in my hand and be like, oh, there's one little baby spoon and I'm good, you know, a couple bites. But not everybody has that luxury, so it makes some people uncomfortable. Where me, I just owned it ahead of time, like I did when I was fat.
Hey, but as Terry said, as you said, Jason, like I'm doing this for me. And
Right?
if you love me and if you support me, then you're going to be okay with this. Or if you're not, you're going to ask me questions so we can have a conversation about it. And just being able to vocalize our needs with our friends and family can sometimes be a challenge as well. You're just not prepared for that. You didn't think I would ever have to be talking about this stuff, but apparently I do. But it's what we have to do to live our healthiest lives for us. It's our health. It isn't anybody else's health.
You know, and I would rather eat dinner at 5 o'clock. That's just who I am. And I'd rather go to bed at like 9:30, you know, but you know, it's like, I don't want to try to like control the way Roy wants to live. So it's like, you know what,
Yeah.
when I'm there, we're just going to eat later and that's what we're going to do. And then during the week I can do this. So I think the truth is we've created a balance, you know, and Roy is like an amazing cook. So he's always making like, you know, and everything he makes is, it's sort of fattening, you know, and he just makes like the best food you've ever had where it's really hard, you know? So I
Yeah.
know that I'm going to go back to having pasta, you know, and when I do, you know, gluten-free, I'll just know that now my Fred bowl is a great bowl for me. And I know that that's my signal of, you know, I've had enough. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Is that I've had enough and all of that, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, it's a good balance and we're figuring it all out. And I'm, you know, going to have my 10 days off and I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to have a real break and my brain needs it. So I'm already preparing people because during that time, I'm famous for answering my direct messages.
I was telling Jason that. People are going to lose their minds. They're going to lose their damn minds.
So I'm trying to prepare everyone. And Molly's like, I said to Molly, okay, here's what I think. And of course she was thinking the same thing. Because I don't want to also burden her during the week. She's got other things she's doing. I don't want it to just be a burden. And because the truth is, I love answering all the messages, but not everybody wants to answer 100 messages a day. So I was like, I don't want it to be a burden. So I said, so we're going to do. I said, we're going to turn off direct messages. And she said, Teri, we have to. And she said, let's face it, it's going to be so tempting for you if you don't. So she'll do all the posting, and we're figuring out what we're going to post. And probably we'll post something when I'm there where Lucy will take a picture of me and post it. But we're just going to take the week off, and I'm glad Lucy's going to be there, and and we're going to be on a beautiful beach. And the thing about it is, if I was in Chicago, it would be impossible for me to go to completely. And I don't want to say impossible, it's a ridiculous word, but it would be a challenge for me in my own city. So my thing is, like, when you get to Mexico, it's hard enough to use your phone to figure it out. So just to simply be like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going on Instagram. It's not happening. Nope. We'll see how I do. Roy says, I'll see it when I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
I do have to say I'm in the Roy camp, but if I know anything about you, it's you will do anything that you put your mind to. So if you are doing it, you are doing it. I mean, two things I want to highlight from what you had just said that I think is so important for everybody, no matter what you're trying to do. You said you have magic elixirs. You also have magic sentences. I know that chocolate cake is not disappearing from this planet. It will be there. I'm choosing to not have it in this very moment. So powerful when you have the ability to make a choice about what you're choosing to put in your body at that very moment. You're not saying, I'm never going to have it again. I'm saying, in this moment, I'm not going to eat it.
Right. Right Huge now, shift. And it's like, even when I go to Mexico, it's like, I'm not having sugar because right now that just doesn't feel like it's a part of my year of health. But doesn't mean I'm not having it on my anniversary in May, and I might be having it, in my birthday in November, but right now I'm not.
No. And the other thing that I have very much learned from you with my obsession of pottery, I think my husband hates me because I have found you and these beautiful things. But what I have really noticed is that because we are eating less too. If I have 5 bites out of my perfectly crafted Fred bowl, I get so much enjoyment out of the eating experience when I'm enjoying it in a vessel that brings me joy. It might be 5 bites, but look at this. I mean, oh my God, to set a beautiful tablescape and to sit down and enjoy my food and conversate with the people and take in all of the senses, it really makes it worth it. So, I mean, I know people think that I'm crazy, but I have every piece of pottery that you have ever made, but it really adds a different level of joy when it comes to food that I never really connected with before. So I'm always telling people, if they come to me and they're like, oh, I'm just so bored with food, or this, that, and it's like, bust out your grandma's china, bust out your dad's favorite, glass or pitcher, and enjoy your food from those vessels, because it's not about the food then. Now it becomes a connection to the person, the place, the thing, the memory, the moment, and not just the food. It's so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah, on Friday this week, I'm doing a whole issue about, last week I did a whole issue just about setting a beautiful table. And
oh my God, I printed it out because you know me, I was like, hot damn, this woman is speaking my love language. It's tablescapes.
And when Roy and I were like on our first date, and I basically said, I set a beautiful table, every night I set the table, and they'll say, remember when you said a beautiful table? It's sort of like, it's like a love psalm for us, but it's like a hymn, a poem,
Yeah.
But, and it is important. I love setting a beautiful table, and I love doing that and putting candle, or getting, from the grocery store, just buying inexpensive flowers that I put in a No Crumbs Left daffodil pitcher or something. Those things just, they make me, and I'm worth it. I'm worth those $10 flowers. So they make me happy.
Absolutely. The very last thing that we would like to talk to you about today is falling in and out of love with food. Have you ever fallen out of love with food? Have you ever gotten to the point where you are just burnt out with it? You have no inspiration. You're just over it. And if so, what did you do? How did you shift to fall in love with it again?
Well, I would say, I don't like, there are periods where I'm cooking more and cooking less. I definitely in January felt like I cannot come up with one creative thing. And for me, the way to do it is to get some beautiful product. I mean, first of all, don't resist it. If you're out of love with food, make some protein shakes and call it a day. But
Yeah.
when I want to fall in love with food, it's like, go to the farmer's market, get some vegetables that you've never prepared before, talk to the farmer or the grower, get home, put on music and make yourself a beautiful lunch. I mean, for nobody other than your own. So for me, whenever I'm feeling like, because we have to create content, we need this for a client and that for a client, is just to have a day where you cook for no other, you're not recipe writing, you're just doing it is important. But I definitely, I mean, in life and in relationships, we go through things like that, So it's like we always have to figure out, how do we ante up again? How do we re-energize? How do we make, how do we excite ourselves about whether it's your sex life or your kitchen? I mean, because it's like we always have to be re-inspiring ourselves on every topic. Like I realized, watching TV did not in any way really support me. I had surgery a couple of years ago and I couldn't watch TV for like 2 weeks, and I just stopped watching. And then I realized, books on tape for me are really like a lovely, and I don't want to read about like a war. I don't want to read about child abuse. I want to read I want someone to tell me a beautiful story that nourishes my senses. So something that I do is I read, a beautiful book, or I go to the museum. I want to go to the wonderful Van Gogh exhibit in Chicago. We have to re-energize ourselves.
Yes. I'm thankful that you said that. Sorry, Jason, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, the thing for me that I go back to every time is everybody's got that one favorite thing they love to cook or the favorite dish they love to eat, regardless of if they're in love with food at the time or not. Everybody's got a go-to. So for me, like I was saying earlier, smoking meat is very therapeutic for me. So I'll go to the butcher shop. You pick out your perfect cut of meat that you find. I take it, and it takes 3 days solid for me to actually go through the entire process of what I do. But it'll be picking the meat, getting all the seasonings together, get the injection made, because I hand make everything. I hand make my own rub. I make my own injection. I make my own barbecue sauce. Everything, all of that's done. I've got like 5 or 6 different sauces that I can choose between to make. So I just go through the step by step of every bit of that, and the time it takes to create your own coals and to get the fire going and to keep the fire going. Like the whole thing for me, beginning to end, is such a process that by the time I'm done, I don't even eat what I cook, but I give it to like you said, I share it with everybody else that loves what I make. And to me, that I'll take a little bit here and there. Usually when I'm trimming stuff, I'm eating a little bit here and there just to make sure that it's edible, to give to the people. And that's usually
you got to
what
taste
works.
as you go. I mean, come on, every good chef does that.
Right,
That's
and that's kind of the thing. Like by the time I'm done, that reinvigorates my love for doing that and kind of keeps those fires going.
I will just share this recipe, and I know it's Teri. You've talked about this all the time. It's the most simple thing in the world: garlic confit. When I bought your book, I was not in love with food, right? And I had just really gotten to know who you were as No Crumbs Left. And I remember I went through the first couple pages, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I spent money for these recipes. I'm supposed to bake garlic and olive oil, really?" And I was like, "Okay, fine. Like, we'll see." Oh my God, absolutely changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And I cooked my way through your cookbook. And it was getting curious about something so simple that just helped my brain get to a new place. So it was almost just revisiting, like, well, I know what garlic is and I know what olive oil is. I don't understand how this is going to be any different. But just the simple action of getting curious and trying something new can get your brain space in a different place to think about something so ordinary in the most unordinary ways. It's just amazing, the power of curiosity and a simple recipe. I mean, mind-blowing.
I love it.
So Teri, do you have any parting words that you'd like to leave our listeners or our followers with? Do you have a favorite quote? Do you have like a place that you would recommend people start if they want to reinvigorate their relationship with food?
Well, of course, come over to my Instagram and certainly get my book. But, cook real food, absolutely, for sure. And I mean, we're here on this planet for such a short time, and we have no reason, not we have no reason, but the moment is now. Embrace your life. This isn't a dress rehearsal for whatever time we have left. Let's just make it, let's make it as good as it can be. And, find the love that you need. And sometimes that means clearing out your closet of some of the people, and it means finding new ones, and if you don't have your crowd, find your crowd. If you didn't get the love from your mother that you wanted, give that love and find people that love you that way. So my thing is like, feel the fear and do it anyway, and I didn't make up that quote, but it's like, we just have to keep going, because of course we're afraid, and I think it was like George O'Keefe who said, like, I've been terrified every single moment of my life, but that's never stopped me from doing anything I wanted to do. And I love that.
Well, we love that too. I think Jason and I both feel the same way. We've been terrified for our entire lives when it came to our weight and our health. And we fought through the fear and we did what we needed to do to live our lives at a healthy life. Now we're just figuring out how the heck we actually do that for the rest of our lives. So it's an adventure.
We're all doing that, by the way. We are all doing that. We're all just figuring out, how do we keep going? And the world keeps changing. So even when we think we've got it, we don't. And the world and the players change, and we're all leaving at some point, and people we love leave, and relationships happen and die, and people get, born and divorced, and we have to just keep moving and, finding our way to our best life.
Yep. Absolutely. Teri, where can people find you on the internet?
Good thing is, if you search No Crumbs Left, you'll find the book, you'll find the blog, you'll find the Instagram. I've got a great following over on Pinterest. We have like 10 million views or something. We're now on TikTok. We're new to TikTok, so we just have a small following. We really have, and we've got different stuff over there. We barely been telling people, because my thing was like, let's just develop it and let's just see who we are. But now we're over there, and we do different things over there. It's interesting.
Well, and it was so funny when I saw that you made your first reel. I think I messaged you and I was like, Teri, like, golf clap for you, because I know how hard it is to get your amazing content down to 30 seconds. Like, so amazing. And your reels are phenomenal. So I can only imagine the creativity that you're coming up with when you have an entire minute on TikTok. Mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we do some of the same, but then we do longer ones where we talk about stuff.
Yes.
So it's been fun. We're figuring it out for sure.
Yes. Well, I love your Instagram. We all love your Instagram feed. And of course, you know how much I absolutely love your cookbook. Anytime anybody wants any recommendations on like, how do I live life after bariatric surgery? I always say James Clear's Atomic Habits and buy Teri Turner's cookbook, No Crumbs Left. Those are like your two things that you need to come up with your best bariatric life. If you could do those two things, you're winning. So we're always directing them your way, because you are amazing. And we very much appreciate everything that you pour into your community. It's pretty phenomenal.
And April and Jason, thanks so much for having me. What a pleasure it's been to be here.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Did we do it, my friend? Jason, is there anything else?
I think so. I just want to thank everybody. Teri, thank you again for your time. It's been amazing. It's been, I believe we've done a lot for our community and the community that we don't actually support yet right now, because there was a lot of life lessons that go along with our bariatric journeys as well. We thank you guys for all the support you've given us to this point, because you guys supporting us helps us to continue to support you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, follow, check us out on our YouTube channel. You can also please leave reviews for us on your favorite podcast player or YouTube alike. Either way, it works. It helps us to just continue to reach more people, because in the end, that's what we're trying to do. So just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye, Teri.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.